Welcome back, everyone, to the Horseman's Hot Seat here at Horse Expo Canada. We have such a treat for you all for this segment. We are here with Sherrylynn Johnson. Thank you so much for being here with us, Sherry.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad to be here. I've enjoyed everything. It's very well put together, so proud for you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I appreciate that. So Sherrylynn is no stranger to Canada. In fact, we have learned that she actually got married in Canada. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Canada has, I guess I'm part Canadian, part American. I don't know what you'd call that. Can-American or something of like that. My husband and I have rodeoed up here for years. He beat me to the punch. He came a little earlier than me. But I've been up here all in the 90s, so that kind of tells my age. We won't talk about that. But we got married in Canada, actually. One year we won a lot of money at Innisfail, and we went to the Heritage Park there in Calgary. We went and got the big dress, and he looked like the Quaker Oat man, if you've ever seen that, with a little hat top. And we actually got married in the first church there in, I don't think that you're supposed to do that, but they allowed us to do that. So people were coming by, thought we were part of the show, and they were weeping, and I was like, no, you know, this is real, right? But we had a lot of fun. We had our cake and everything in the first school, and so yeah, it's very memorable for us, and we've enjoyed being in Canada. We're here a lot, and my husband, he's been to the national finals 23 times, and he's won Calgary a couple times. And
amazing.
What event, Sherry?
He is a tie-down roper, so that has a lot to do with our horses and keeping them in the right mind, so to speak. I know I heard a lot of men talk about that, and I attest that to my husband because he keeps me on the straight and narrow. He makes me do a lot of riding in the trails, and I'm not that person. I just want to do my thing and leave, and he's always about keeping the mind right and keeping them supple and that sort of thing. So we kind of mesh that way. I'm really high speed, and he's really laid back, and so it kind of works out for that. So we've gotten our horses to stay very mindset in what we do, and a lot of that has to do because we balance each other out.
I was going to say, it sounds like the dream team. Really nice compliment.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. He's not here today, so we've been FaceTiming back and forth, and he's at a rodeo today, and so anyway, in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So yeah, he loves the sport. He loves what he does, and we love helping kids and doing what we do right now. So it's pretty neat. And you have a great crowd in there yesterday. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Super happy to hear that. So we are curious to start off with a horsey question for you around pre-purchase and the process you go through when you're considering buying a horse or maybe helping someone buy a horse. So what are some of the things that you're looking for and potentially some of the red flags you're trying to avoid?
You know, over the years, I've rode a lot of horses. And a lot of those weren't mine, but a lot of those were mine. And, you know, there's a lot of things that go into buying a horse. You know, there are people that see a horse and they'll walk up and ask to buy that horse. And then there are people that have a young kid that maybe has outgrown their horse and they're looking for a new horse. And so they're actually seeking a horse. But then there are people that just, it falls into their lap and they, you know, decide to buy one. And depending on what you're looking for, and that price range is always the key that opens up that pre-purchase. But over the years, one of the things for pre-purchase is being prepared for that pre-purchase. I think a lot of people go into it and they're not prepared. And, you know, when you see a horse, let's say you find a horse and you're interested in purchasing that horse, then you do your homework. You know, you look online. Thank goodness we have social media. That is one good thing that we can use it for. There are a lot of things it's not. But we can actually look up a lot of things in the history that we couldn't do before. And you can kind of see what's going on. The issues that I see that people tend to not look at is they just look at what great things that horse did, like how much they'd won. And the people that send you videos send you all the good stuff, right?
It's a highlight reel.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of times it doesn't have dates, so you don't know how long ago that particular thing happened. And so, you know, doing your homework in my mind is, you know, it's always like when it's great, but that's not reality. Yep. And so there's a reason they're selling that horse. Yep. And doesn't always have to be a negative. It could be that they're having a baby or they're going to college and they can't continue on with this horse. But at the same time, you want to see what happens when it's not so good.
Yep.
You know, and so I always tell the people, it's not going to steer me to not buy your horse. I already like it, okay? I just want to know what is actually happening when it doesn't go right.
Yes.
You know, up here you call it knocks. So when the horse knocks, well, why did that happen? And so could you show me a video of that? It's definitely not going to change my mind, but it's going to help me be better down the road. And I think if you look at those things before you actually decide to ride that horse, that's going to help you. And then the other thing is, be prepared to buy that horse. I can't tell you in my lifetime how many times I've went to ride a horse and they back out when I go home. And so you've got to be prepared to already have that pre-purchase set up. The same day, potentially the afternoon that you go and ride the horse that morning. Be prepared of how you're going to pay for that horse. Do they care that you give them a check? A lot of people won't let you give them a check. So how am I going to buy this horse? And are we okay before I even step on it, before I even look at it? And I think if you set those things up, then you're more inclined to have a positive outcome when you ride that horse. And also try the horse not at their home. You know, everybody's horse works great
That's
at
key.
home.
Yeah, that's very good.
And you know, a lot of times you don't get to see the things that come out when you go to a different place. And then you say, okay, well, all of those things, I get that done. When you set up that pre-purchase with your vet, make sure that that vet, you know them, or at least you're acquainted with them. If it's in a different area, you know, then make sure you have a friend that knows that vet and tell them what you're looking for in that pre-purchase. And that if I want to know about their feet and I want to know about their hocks and I want to know about their back, the order that you want those in, and if they find something, stop. That way you're not spending extra money that you can't afford. And I think if you make those steps, then you're going to have much better situation for yourself. And I can attest that to one time over the years, one of the millions of horses that I wanted. There was a horse here in Canada. Oh my gosh, I found it. I really don't remember exactly how I found it, but it wasn't out there to buy. And oh my goodness, I already knew I was in love with it before I got here. I flew my vet up here. I flew him to Edmonton. I got a vet up here that knew someone that would allow my vet to come in and look at the x-rays and work together, but that he would actually take the x-rays, okay? And then my vet would look. And we set it all up the afternoon, and they had no idea this horse had something they did not know was there. And I cried, oh my gosh. We went through all the pre-purchase before my vet got there, and I'm talking to him on the phone. He's landed, and then the vet looks at me and says, he's not going to let you have it. And I was like, what? He's like, he's not going to let you have it. And then the tears started coming. And so I was like, why? And he says, I'm not going to tell you, but he's not going to let you have it. And my vet and I have a kind of a thing is there's no such thing as a pass or a fail in a pre-purchase. It's what can I live with?
Yes.
And some of those times it depends on what I'm going to do with that animal. If I'm going to haul that animal down the road, then I'm probably not going to have the feet issues because he's not going to last because of the pounding. But man, if he, you know, maybe if he has a little spur in his hock, if it's not bothering him and it's, you know, we can inject it, then I'm going to be okay with that. And so there's not a pass or fail. But with this particular situation, in a couple of years, he wouldn't be able to run at all. And so when my vet got there and he sat down and he looked at that, he just turned around. And then, then the floodgate came because he's the one that says yes or no. And he said, you can't have it. I said, can we do surgery? And he said,
You really wanted this horse.
I did. And he said, we can, but it's not going to do any good. It's going to come back. And I was just like, so there's nothing we can do. I literally would have done anything to have that horse. So I think it's important because if I had stopped that vet, it wouldn't have cost quite as much. Because, a pre-purchase, I'm not sure what it is up here, but, you're talking just a minimum is probably $1,200 in the States. And that's just, And I said the back, and I'm going to say why I said that. Because of the kissing spine that goes on now in all the horses, that's probably the easiest x-ray you can have. And it's probably the most important one, just because because that's where they'll get sore, and you won't know what's going on, and you'll try everything, new saddle, new pad, you'll acupuncture him, you'll do everything. And if you knew that up front, then you could either manage it better or make that decision. So I think a pre-purchase is important. I think a lot of us, don't do them. Back in the day, we didn't even know what a pre-purchase was. We just bought it. It was by truck and trailer, and, so hopefully that will help a lot of people, because I've been through a lot of those.
I really liked your point about being mindful of when you're doing the pre-purchase, if there's something found, like knowing when to stop, like according to your budget, because I feel like some people almost get locked onto the idea and then keep going, and now they're like $3,000 into x-rays and so on. They didn't really need to, because that was already beyond their budget. Now they don't have the money for the horse, so it's heartbreak all the way around.
It is.
Yeah.
And look, the vets are doing their job, and that's what you want. You want a good vet. My vet is a personal. I can call him at midnight, and he will answer. And that vet is probably one of the second most important things when you're doing the sport that we do, because you've got to trust in them. And a lot of times you've got to have them in different places. And I've been so fortunate up here to have had good veterinarians here that I totally trust, and they cooperate with my vet.
Exhibitors looking for the owner of a black Mazda CX-5, license CFJ2884, CFJ2884. Could you please move your vehicle? Thank you very much.
But anyway, I really think that it's important to have that bond with them, because then they'll also know who you are and what you're actually looking for, and
For sure.
with your horse, with the budget that you have.
Yep, having a good established relationship with your vet is so important, and just being totally honest with what your budget is, what you're looking for. Like you said, making sure that you lay that out, because as you said, I really like that too. It's not so much a pass or fail as what you can live with, because there's no perfect specimen, but it's depends what you want to do with the horse.
I don't think I'd pass a vet check, but I got a big
Same
heart,
here.
so I think I could, still do
You could
most
still
things.
run.
Oh, I like that. I resonate with that. Now, I'm wondering if we can switch gears a little bit. Thank you so much for that info about the horses and looking at that. I think there's a lot of great takeaways there. But I'm also curious to know, because you've done quite a few things. You've done some pretty cool things. And when it comes to maybe if there's any young people out in the audience who are wanting to know more about how you got to where you are, could you tell us a little more about that journey that got you to being here?
Well, I can tell you it was a beer budget. Okay, I think that's what you parents would call that. You kids might call it a candy budget. My mom and dad, when I found out they were going to have me, my dad, he made Harleys. He put them together, Harley motorcycles, and he had a boat. And I think he could slalom, if you know what that means. That means he could ski with one foot and no ski underneath it. He was pretty talented, and I'm sure that's probably where some of my talent came from. And the feed store man told him, he said, "What can I do to keep her off the street?" And he told my dad, he said, "Buy the kid a horse." And so my dad sold the motorcycle, he sold the boat, and he bought a horse. Yeah. And my dad is probably jockey-sized little man. And now my mom and dad train and sell all the horses at the Josie Ranch. They have for over 30 years. Wow. And so he learned everything he could learn about horses. And
how old was he when he started that journey?
I was 8. So my dad was, in his adulthood by far, and he just made a reverse. Wow. And had never rode a horse or anything like that in his lifetime. And my mom had not either. She had worked in a CPA office. So for them to abruptly change their life, and we bought, back then it was 10 acres. That's nothing in Canada, but in the United States, that's a decent place, right, with a barn and all that type of stuff, and barrels. And I know we started from scratch and we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't grow up that way. My husband didn't either. He grew up with no air conditioning in his home and no credit cards. And so we had to buy horses, and we'd find one with an issue that we could afford. We would work on that issue, get that horse to working, get that horse to winning, and then my dad would sell it and we would buy another one. And I can remember being at a finals one time, and I won the first round. And the second round, I was on something different. And someone said, "Where'd that horse go?" And I said, "Well, Dad sold it." And they were like, "Oh, your dad that's bad." I said, "Oh, he's so mean." But that was our system because I could get a better horse. Yeah. And we did that all through my growing up. And I think the rider that I am today, and feeling how it feels for young people out here, that not everyone can buy a $100,000 horse. And everyone out here has a farm of some nature, or wants to be from a farm, or wants to go work at a farm. And those foundations from those horses, they're the best because they know how to move left or right. They know how to go forward. They know how to stay out of your way. They're very supple, we called it. You talked about that yesterday as far as being soft in the hand. And we call that supple with the rein. And all of that comes from those farm animals, those ones that are out there doing their job every day, finding the cattle and herding them up. And a lot of those horses are foundation-wise strong. And if I hadn't had that foundation, I wouldn't be here today, because I can jump on, I'm a jump jockey. I can jump on a horse, feel it, and make it work. Maybe it's not the way I want to go, but it's the way the horse goes. And I feel like a lot of these young kids out here, I want them to know that they could be here. They could be in my shoes and do this, and it doesn't take a lot of money and a big fancy trailer. And I can remember putting those initials you get from Walmart, and it said Sherrylynn on the top of it, and it was super cool. Yeah. And that was our first trailer. And then I won a trailer, and it was a 2-horse side by side. A lot of people don't even use those anymore. And it was tan. I can remember exactly what it looks like. And, that was like the bomb, right? Yeah. We had a new trailer. So I think a lot of young people here, I want them to understand and talk to me while I'm here. I'll be here today and tomorrow. I would love to, share with them and get them on the right path so they can do what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think out of just that heart you have to have everyone come up and ask you the questions and make the most of the time that you have here. Don't miss out on that. That's a great offer. Yeah.
And that's a great segue to what you are doing now. And your husband, Mike, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. What are you doing now?
Well, for the last, I guess, couple of decades, we've been pro rodeoing, and now we're giving back. So this will be our 5th year. We have an event called Vegas Toughest Junior World Championship. It is in Las Vegas. It is the same time as the national finals. It's for 19 years and under. We have age groups from 10, 12, 15, and 19. It's roping and barrel racing and goat tying. And those kids, we actually have one here in Canada, in Alberta. It's July the 3rd. It will be at Stettler. And there are flyers out everywhere, so check that out. You can qualify to go to Vegas. We gave last year $1.5 million away to kids.
Whoa.
And that's in cash. Then we gave 3
US
trucks.
Cash.
And by the way, that's a good exchange for you guys. So that's a little bit about 1.7. Is that right?
More than that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we gave away 2 trucks last year. We're going to give away 3 trucks this year, and then all sorts of different prizes, from soft rides to American hats to everything that you can probably use in your event. And I had a 10 and under barrel racer last year. She won $41,000 or $42,000 and a truck. And she holds on those keys pretty well. So, but you could qualify here to go to Vegas, and so you actually could compete in an arena that's Thomas and Mack style. That's national finals style, national finals pattern, and national finals ground. Except I always tease and say we work it better. So, you'll know what you can do. You can compare it that night to the national finals. So. I know you guys are going to have a really great showcase today of clothing and everything, and we have a back number ceremony that we give away a 100X American hat to our winners for their dress. So when they go across stage and get their back numbers, so pretty exciting stuff. And
So fun.
and we've had a couple really Canadians that have done really well down there and won a lot of money. So you guys check that out if you're young, and if you want to talk to me about it, I'll be glad to get you hooked up and get in that so you can win some money.
Just it sounds like such a fun event with just so much happening. So that sounds incredible.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of these horses here, some of them in my group there, I have a young lady, Samantha, and she's 18, and I'm hoping that she'll get qualified and come down to Vegas. But we've had a lot of the ropers here that have done extremely well, and I think you've been a champion in the goat tying about 2 years ago. So there's a lot of Canadians. We have one in Manitoba as well. So we're trying to get you guys involved. We only have about 50, so we're pretty selective. But we had over 1,000 contestants last year. So
Wow.
Incredible. Oh man. That's
lots of fun.
So good. So we've got probably time for maybe one more question for today, and one that I would still like to ask you is around what are some things, kind of other things you've done maybe outside of the horse industry that have still really impacted and helped you with what you're doing now?
I haven't always been a clinician.
Yeah.
When I went to school, I was from a little rural school, and the one thing I didn't want to do was work at the Pizza Hut or the bank. And so I told myself, I don't care what that is, I'm not going to end up there. I wanted to do something different. So I, obviously, with my goals that I had and all the things that we do rodeoing, I got scholarships from a lot of places. So I chose a school that I thought was really pretty and still was kind of rural. It had big magnolia trees, and I went there. Actually, I got the scholarship from the Texas school that was out where the wind blows, and I had them write it all down on a letter of intent. I can talk to you about that if you ever get ready to go to college, how that can work. I took that letter of intent to the school and said, if you give me this, I'm coming here. And so they did, and I was head majorette at the college. So on top of rodeoing, I had a line of 6 girls, and we were out there, and I was trolling that baton, and so that got me a lot of scholarships that way. And then on the weekend, I got on the horse and went to the college rodeo. And so I won the college, the national, the regional, and then the college brought me in and left me there and asked me they'd pay for my master's if I would coach. Wow. So I coached. We won the nation that year, and I got my master's. And then I stayed on and worked at the college and got my doctorate. And so I use that doctorate every day of my life. It's developmental education. It's psychology. And I feel like that every time I see someone, every time I do something, I use that in my everyday life. And it's what's made me who I am. I feel like that I hopefully can not meet a stranger, and I can see into everyone, whether they're scared, whether they're anxious, or whether they're like me. You know, if we played Monopoly tonight, I would try to beat you. And if I couldn't beat you, I'd want to be the banker, so I could probably cheat and I can beat you. So I don't like to lose. So if you know me, that's a very important thing. I don't like to lose. I don't care what we're doing. So, and I think that that drive has, kept me alive doing this. And now I love giving it back to other kids. We have clinics all over the United States and Canada. And my husband and I go together, which is awesome. And we are able to give 2 kids what we know from a point. He never went to college. And he tells everyone in our clinics that he's just like me. He never made a B. And we laugh because that is not the good way. He never made a B. So we've enjoyed going back and forth, and we show one way that you don't have to go to college to get to where he is, and then we show how I went to college and to get to where you are. And so I think it gives us a broad spectrum for young people to see and for parents to see, because I know this is a cost event. It's not cheap to run barrels, but nowadays in the barrel racing industry with the D system, you can take that horse and actually win money until you get to that point with that horse. Or maybe that horse, you get to point B and you're in a 3D system, and then you can sell him and get something better and then work your way up. And I feel like that's allowed a lot of horses in this industry. And I'm going to tell you, Canada's ahead of the U.S. because when you have young horses and we're doing futurities and derbies, we start those at 3 years old, and that's just not fair. That horse has no mind, and you can't tell me that just pushing him to his peak is good for him as a 3-year-old. You guys are a year behind that, and it makes your horses solid and last longer. And those horses probably are better leg-wise, and, you know, if you had a claim to fame in the rodeo world, it would be, I would say mine would be the fact that my horses have not had injury prone. They're not injury prone because my horses stand up in the turn. And when I talk to people today over there, I want them to know that how you put the horse into the turn is how that horse stays healthy. And I'm not saying that's 100% foolproof, but I'm going to tell you there's a lot to that. Yes. And when you see these people that don't ride and put that horse in a position to where he can turn with deep ground, hard ground. You guys know your ground's not sometimes the best up here, and it's very different. And, you know, putting that horse in that position correctly will keep him, you know, out of the vet clinic more often than not. And I feel like that's a super thing that I can actually say that I do and that I teach. Yes. That how you put that horse into the turn, how you present him is how that's going to come out in the end.
So, you know, that longevity, doing well by that horse, and just, there's so many pieces to that can add so much value. So thank you for sharing those nuggets. Before we let you go, I do want to just ask you, if people are wanting to come contact you or find you, where can they find you throughout the course of the rest of the weekend?
My next venture is going to be in Ag East, I believe that is. And I'm there in a couple of hours. I'm going to mill around here, so get me a bite to eat before we go. And so I encourage you, if you want to come up and meet me, I won't find a stranger, so I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. That's the hardest thing. You want to ask someone, but you're afraid to ask them. And I encourage you that I'm no stranger to you. So please use that. That's why I'm here. And I feel like that I love this country. We'll be here back in June, rodeoing a little bit, and for as long as I guess my body will take it. And then, and plus I get out of the heat. It's hot down there, so it's a lot cooler up here. So anyway, we'll hear, and I'll be glad to help you.
Well, Sherrylynn, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're beautiful. You're an accomplished professional, but we actually got to see the beauty inside as well today, getting to talk to you a little bit. We also just wanted to give a shout out and a big thank you to one of Sherrylynn's sponsors, Cowgirl Tough. They provided shirts for Kylie and I.
They did.
Sherrylynn generously hooked us up with that. So thank you to Sherrylynn, and thank you to Cowgirl Tough.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. And on the looks thing, I'll pay you later.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for coming and checking out Sherrylynn, and be sure to stop by and see her in the arena as well for some tips.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.